Matt, please tell us about our first running back.
Our first running back is Trey Benson, running back from Florida State. He was 6'1¼ tall. High. He's 6'1¼ high. 216 pounds, 9¼ hands, 31.5 arms. He's got a wingspan of 76 3/8 inches. He is 21 years old. He'll be 22 in July. In the 40, he ran a 4.39 with a 1.52 10-yard split. Nice time.
Cooking.
In the broad jump, he did 122 inches. He had a 33.5-inch vertical last year at Florida State. In 13 games, he had 156 attempts, 906 yards rushing, 14 touchdowns, 20 receptions, 227 yards receiving, and another touchdown.
Yeah, not only is Benson young out of Florida State, but Trey Benson also has a lot of tread still left on that tire.
You got it right that time.
You did use it correctly.
Crushed it.
Only 316 total carries and 33 catches in college. So he's ready to go. And I'm going to say this is, out of all the running backs that I've watched on tape, this is easily, and I don't mean that, okay, he's clearly my running back one. I wouldn't say easily because there's a couple guys behind him that are pretty good
really
too.
Solid, yep.
But he's in a tier of his own. Like there's like the other guys, I'll let the draft capital come decide. And to be fair, like if Marshawn Lloyd goes to the Cowboys, like and Trey Benson goes to Tennessee, I don't know. Like he'll go down.
They're close enough to where that would factor in.
Please don't put another running back in Tennessee.
It could be bad.
So don't put that into the universe.
You just never know what's going to happen. So, but sometimes when like guys like Gibbs go to like Detroit, and you're like, "What is going on here?" It ends up working out for everybody.
Yeah,
it works out for everybody. So for me, Trey Benson, there's a lot of things to like here. When I watch this guy, you mentioned how explosive he is at that 40 time, the 1.5. Like it shows up on tape. This is somebody that I saw every single game bust off a huge run. Every single game. And he's got really good contact balance. He's got really good feet. And I know we were talking before the show, like Matt and Jared, like they didn't love like his agility, like his lateral movement.
He's a little stiff laterally. I mean, it's almost like a robotic type of movement at times. But he does, I think, make up for it. You mentioned that. In the explosion, you know what I mean? Once he gets going, he's able to still separate from guys, but it's just maybe not the most natural and fluid movement for him when he's going side.
He's no Jahmyr Gibbs.
Right.
He's no DeAndre Swift, but I feel like his feet are quick enough where he could still make defenders miss and he could still win. And I love his quick feet inside. Like he moves inside the tackles really well, finds those holes, gets there. He's big enough, strong enough to move that pile, to break those arm tackles. And if you give this guy an inch of daylight, he does have the speed to just go. He's very explosive. Great contact balance. I love the initial burst off the line as well that I see here. His size is great. He's not afraid to lower the pads. Can make defenders miss. I know the lateral ability. And I agree with you guys for sure. Like he's not
going to string together moves to like make.
No,
he's not Reggie Bush out here.
But and what's nice is because of his size and his speed, he doesn't really have to. Like
I don't want him to necessarily.
No, I want him to bounce outside, one cut, and go.
Yes, he's more of, when you look at like archetypes, he's more in the Adrian Peterson archetype, where he's going to be physical, he's going to get north and south, he's going to make big explosive plays. He's not going to be stringing 2 and 3 moves together to make guys miss. So sometimes guys play out of their natural lane, and I want him to stay in that lane. I want him to be more the Adrian Peterson type, the Nick Chubb type, the guys that, hey, let's make one good move and go. Let's get upfield. Let's get north and south, and let's break some arm tackles, things like that in the open field and go.
Yeah, and just like Nick Chubb, he's viable in the passing game. Like he's not going to run some good routes, and that's, his hips would probably slow that down a little as well. But he's very viable in the passing game. I didn't see him drop one ball out of all the tape I watched.
I had in my notes that he had some odd drops.
Did he?
Yeah.
I had one that I saw. That was it. So I only saw one. I watched 6 games on Benson. I only saw the one. So it was definitely, and he looked natural doing it. Didn't look like he was fighting the ball or anything like that. So
that was going to be my note on it. I didn't see any of the drops. I've watched 5 games on him. So maybe I just haven't gotten to the games.
It's a pass fail. He can catch the ball.
Yeah, he can catch the ball. He does it pretty naturally. He's not fighting it or anything like that. So.
Yeah. So something else that I noted, there was some talk about his vision, and we have a lot of all 22 on Trey Benson. I loved his vision. I did not see the question marks people had on his vision. And there's one minor point that I'll get to where maybe this is coming from, but overall, I thought he did a great job at being patient, letting his blocks develop, especially on some of those counter plays, those power plays. He seemed to really have a good natural feel for it. And those are the types of schemes that I want to see him go to. Not that he can't do the gap schemes. I think he'd be fine there as well. But I think he identifies the holes well. And when he sees it, it's an instantaneous, like, boom, go. Like right now, he's not hesitating. He's going. Now, the one caveat I'll put with that, and this was a negative for me, there were times where it seemed like he tried a little too hard to hit the home run plays. And then you would just see these weird instances of indecisiveness when he was trying to do that. And he would turn what would have been a 1 yard gain or a 1 yard loss or around the line of scrimmage into a 3, 4, 6 yard loss. So
like the first play of the game versus
the first
Florida, right?
The very first play of the game against Florida.
7 yards he lost.
Yeah, and
then lost like 2 yards the very next play.
Yeah, and like right away, he had like 3 or 4 different instances to just like get upfield and just take what they gave you. But he was trying too much. So there are some. There's not a lot of them, but there are a few sprinkled throughout his tape where I think he is trying a little too hard to hit the big play, and I want him to just get what's there. But overall, the meta narrative of Trey Benson is he is a downhill runner that is going to make some big plays, and I really liked what I saw.
My number one weakness I had down here too was his indecisiveness as well. Like, which is again sometimes he does show really good patience, but that could sometimes hurt a player. But for how young he is too, I'm like, okay, that could be coached up. That could be like, hey, no, Trey, we want you to follow this block and go. You make the decision after that point. We don't need to see you here dancing. We need you to go. So, like you said, it showed up on tape, but it wasn't a concern for me.
Not
and I'm with you.
thing.
I liked his vision. I thought his vision was really good. I thought it was really good in open field, and I think that with his feet is what helped him make a lot of those big runs that he had. Yeah. And what I really liked his vision as well was in between the tackles. Like when he's in there and he's pressing, like he could see, he keeps his head up and he's big enough. He could still see, and he'll find the right spot every single time. And I love that kind of vision too in between the tackles, because that's the difference between being stuffed at the line or getting 1 yard and then getting 3 to 4 yards.
And I think he understood leverage of defenders really well too, because he would do a really good job of like pressing, and then even where he would cut, he wouldn't cut so far outside that he would get chased down. He took good routes. Like he really understood the leverage of defenders and angles really instinctively.
And who he can outrun, which is important. I mean, if you're a running back, you need to know where that I can beat that guy to this spot, and then we'll take it from there. Whatever happens, if someone else comes along, we'll deal with it then. But I do think he does all that kind of stuff well. He's a guy that can operate inside just as easily as outside. He's got all the bits and pieces to his game that he needs. And I said, in my notes, I have a lot of the same stuff. Like he's a find the hole, hit the hole, go type of guy. And I agree that's where he's best. And I didn't see a lot of dancing. Maybe I just kind of construed that as him kind of just being patient and waiting for things to kind of develop ahead of him.
It wasn't even more so dancing.
It would just be small bouts. It wouldn't be a lot, but you'll see it once or twice a game where, and you could maybe disguise it as patience as well, but where it's weird because so often when he saw a hole, he would hit it and hit it hard. Yeah. But there would just be these small times where the hole developed, but he was just a little too slow and indecisive, and then tried to like bounce it or cut it back inside. And then it got all muddied. Yeah. So it didn't happen often, but I would say probably 5 or 6 times as I watched his tape, there were moments where I was like, right there. He didn't see it quick enough.
Or like he saw it, but he didn't know if he was
second-guessed it. Yeah.
Like, should have got, and he doesn't, and then he said he's forced to bounce outside, and now where you get to like that 1 yard gain, right along those lines.
Well, I think we got another 5 games that I can watch.
We have a lot
of this guy. So I'm gonna dig in a little more. Right.
He's everyone's either RB1 or RB2 amongst all of us, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Garret and I's RB1, and you and Matt by RB2, but
Matt's splitting hairs.
It's literally the smallest of margins
and
as
Garret,
far as
I mean something we didn't even hit on in his profile, and it correlates exactly to why you have him RB1. I mean, he tore his ACL, MCL, lateral meniscus, medial meniscus, and his hamstring.
I love all those guys with bad knees.
In 2020, where he thought his career might everyone thought his career might be over at that point.
Which
but
for me, that's so long ago.
Yeah.
He was so young. Like that's.
I think it just speaks volumes to who he is to
Work
even
ethic,
come
to
back
get
from
back,
that
yeah.
to be considered a top back in the class.
And what year was that?
2020.
Okay, so that
Yeah.
was a while back. Yeah.
It was.
Yeah, it was when he was at Oregon.
Okay.
Because in the following year, he only had 6 carries for 22 yards. So he didn't even rush the fall. He didn't play at all the following year.
Yeah. So
But
we
yeah,
thought
he tore it
Marshawn
all.
Lloyd, who tore his ACL, also was going to be your top back. But you found a guy
I found another one that,
that
had
even
a worse
had
knee
a worse
injury.
knee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's I'd like to try to stay consistent in my analysis.
It's
Last
just funny.
thing, it's weird. It really is. The last thing that I will highlight is, as a small negative, he is a little bit of an upright runner. Overall, I would like to see him lower the pad level.
What'd you think about his pass pro?
Uh,
Because I graded him out at a 5.
See, I had some positive marks on his pass pro overall. I thought his feet were pretty good, and there were times he missed.
I'm sorry, 6.5.
Oh, okay.
Lloyd was 5 for me.
I thought it was
Okay, I had low marks for Lloyd as well.
So,
But
so for me, I had a guy sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
You're
off. I
good.
didn't mean to rich you, but
Ooh.
for a guy that didn't catch many passes, I feel like he was out in a lot of pass routes.
he didn't do a lot of pass protection.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of. I'm like, I don't have a lot to go on here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
and there's a few guys like that in this class where it's
Right.
like you got like 5 reps to determine if they're good at pass protection or not.
I had his vision graded tied for best in the class too, Garrett. So
I
I liked it as well.
liked it.
I mean,
Yep, I had it as one of the best ones in the class as well. So, yeah, it's weird. I heard it from a couple people that they didn't like his vision, and I'm guessing it was those moments of indecisiveness is why they put that there. But
Yeah.
you could tell when he recognized things, man, he recognized and he was hitting it. Like I really liked it overall.
I haven't watched any of these receivers yet, but this for somebody for me is clearly a first round grade. If you have your rookie draft Superflex Tight End Premium before the NFL draft, like this is somebody I'm taking in the back end of the first round easily. I would say by the time the NFL draft comes along, I think he gets day 2 draft capital. Maybe he's even high as the second round. I think he's good enough, definitely on a contender. Cowboys, Chargers, Chiefs, like
Let's say it is the
gonna
Cowboys.
skyrocket.
Let's play a hypothetical real quick. Let's say he goes to the Cowboys. Whatever their second round pick is. Say he goes there. Does he challenge what we've perceived as the top 8?
So I was asking myself the same question because he looks really good. And it's easily, you can say the top 3 quarterbacks are above him. Easily.
Right. For
Malik
sure.
Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. Easily over him. Now, I know you guys, I don't know if you guys have watched Roman Dunze, but like I said before, it's probably out of Marvin Harrison Jr., I watched the most tape on Roman Dunze.
Uh-huh.
It'd be hard for him to get ahead of Roman Dunze for me.
Okay, so you got Bowers and
so you have
McCarthy
Bowers.
then.
And then the fact all this news about people are trained up, like J.J. McCarthy's for sure going top 10, probably top 6. That means for sure J.J. McCarthy is there. And then we're going to have the conversation, do you take J.J. McCarthy over Romo Dunze and Brock Bowers, let alone at 8 at this point? So that tells me, like, can he be ahead of Brock Bowers? And tight end premium, that's probably not as well.
Probably not.
So you're looking at pick number 9 overall. So pick 9 and 12. And we're not even talking about Ladd McConkey or Brian Thomas yet either. So, like, you're getting Trey Benson at 9 or 10. And I will promise you this. If he goes to the Cowboys, for example, he will, and I would say, again, this is me just completely making up a number, but 17% of leagues, he'll go above pick 9. And a Superflex Tight End Premium.
it just makes
Because, dude,
I
people need
love
to
how specific that number was. Dude.
17.
running backs
17.
are too deep. Dude, everybody
Dude.
needs a running back. He goes to the Cowboys, people are going to be salivating. They're going to be going from 6 to midnight, and it's
sure.
like they took a blue pill because it ain't going away.
And now you're
Consult
talking.
a doctor,
so
please.
what percentage would you put on him going from like anywhere from 6 to 9?
69.
Well, Rob Gronkowski. If he goes to the Cowboys,
Yeah,
I would say probably 25%.
Okay.
Of leagues. Because, I mean, if you're a tight end premium and say you got Dalton Kincaid and you have Sam
This is the
Laporta,
most
right? Like, you're going to,
Ambiguous.
you need to run it. I understand the thirst on running.
we're at
It
the
doesn't matter
most
what anybody
data-
says.
And no,
We're happy.
Yeah, they
podcast.
say we're not a data-driven podcast. Come on,
I've got
people.
facts and whole hard
no,
numbers.
we're being silly now, but for real,
Yeah. 25% of the leagues, I feel like you would go at least top. I think
in
you'd go
that
from 6
range
to
somewhere.
8.
Yeah, I think it's viable to think that he's, or at least,
And I think
it's not out of the realm of possibilities to think that he's going to go in that range if he's drafted by.
And the one thing
team
that I
like
want to say that's different from some other players that we've seen come into the back end of the first round in other years. This guy, assuming the draft capital we're talking about does actually happen, the tape backs it up, the draft spot, like all of those things actually back up for him to be worth a late first round pick. The Ronald Joneses of the world, the Keyshawn Vaughns of the world, those guys. What's that?
I said, chill out talking about those guys.
I know. Kendre Millers of the world. Like, those were running back 4 and 5 and 6 in their classes that were moving up because of need. No, we're talking about the number 1 running back in the class. It's just, this happens to be a really stacked class at the top. So I just wanted to parse that out because I've told people before, like, don't just move up running backs because you need them. No, this is actually where he deserves to go as the number 1 back in the class.
Yeah, I think right around 9, but people have a need, for running back.
For speed.
It's going to jump up.
It's going to artificially push him up even more. Yep.
100%.
Last thing, I never actually said my score. He was the only one in this class to crack a 75 for me, which is fairly significant. I tweeted it out last week, but it's a pretty short list. He's one of only 9 guys so far that have cracked a 75 for me over the past 5 years. So it's not a huge group, and the guys in that group are really, really good names. So
I just realized we're like super close on him anyway.
Are we?
74.9. Yeah. So
okay. So yeah, we're crazy close.
Yeah.
I got him a hair lower, 73.
Hey.
0.525.
Like
but I'm just starting out here. This is brand new for me. So, I'm figuring out my way here.
Well, so far, I mean, you're pretty close to, you're in the range.
In the order, at least.